Alright, well, just leaving Danny Murphy's now. Stop back on the bike and show you the rest of Castine, Maine. This is, as I recall, Dennett's Wharf. I don't know if it has a different name now, but I'm a local. We don't ever change the name of anything. Once we've learned it to be the original thing that it was, we never stop calling it by that name, ever. We can try that name from our cold, dead hands.
Yes, that's right. Move for me, you bastards. Move. That's fine. Yep, that's what I thought. Saw a couple of kayakers lifting their boat up and over my bike earlier, and I guess they hit it because they absolutely hit my side view mirror. Ah, well. That's what happens when they put the kayak and motorcycle parking, I suppose. No harm, no foul. Yeah, again, this is just a nice little town that people don't normally get to see. You know, it's kind of off the beaten track, just like my own town is, so I thought that today would be as good of a day as any to just sort of bring you all through it as we're waiting for my buddy to get back from doing his home improvement work. Yeah, Zach was installing some interior doors at a friend of ours' house, so no harm, no foul. Just excited to get to ride with him for a couple hours tonight. I'm not going to bring us all the way down there, but we'll come back up through the town itself, just so you get to see the historic commons. Which is a place that I know very, very well. The church I was originally a part of is here. Oh, for God's sake. There we go. I'm trying to see what speed I'm going so I'm not rocketing through this very small town. And there's our tiny little hospital, I mean, it's a health center and dentist all in the same building. And here it is, the Unitarian Universalist Church I used to go to. You couldn't tell by the Viking haircut and jewelry. Yeah, no, I am no longer really a Unitarian. But here is Castine Green, the Historical Society and all. They have some very cool displays in there, so definitely check it out. And their school, and yes, this is the original school building, and no, it doesn't need to be any bigger because, if anything, the actual township of Castine just seems to get smaller every year as locals either die out or move away to be replaced by people who only live here in the summertime, because unfortunately Not a lot of the locals can afford to live here anymore. But it is a beautiful place and it is more than worth a visit. It's just nice and quiet, easily walkable from one end to the other. Again, with one as easily winded as myself, as long as you are at least moderately in shape, you'll do just fine here. And I suppose I'll show you the golf courses while we're up here as well. It's actually the main view that everybody sees coming into town regardless, as it turns out. How's that for a view? You gotta love it. It's just such a beautiful place. Doesn't matter where you're going or what you're doing. Everywhere you look, there's just something for you to look at. Hell with it, we're gonna go down 166. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So an unfortunate aspect that happens at Maine Maritime Academy sometimes, it's not often, but yeah, there was an accident a while back that unfortunately claimed the lives of 5 students. And those crosses back there reminded me of that. Because last year it was just horrible. One of the many reasons that now don't get me wrong, I'm not an advocate for underage drinking. What I am an advocate for is, look, they're in college, it's their first time away from people. You can't possibly watch over every single thing that they're going to do, because again, for a lot of them it's way more freedom that they've ever had. But I'm at the very least an advocate for have a place for them to do this shit so they don't have to go off campus to do it, or they don't have to feel like they have to sneak around, because the sneaking around is when most of this stuff tends to happen, and it's usually too late because people don't want to, you know, get in trouble for, I don't know, letting them know, hey, my friend's not responding, you know. Then what? That person is still gets in trouble if they end up needing to go to the hospital, or just it was a false alarm and then they get in trouble anyway, and then what happens? That person loses their entire friend group because they're thinking, oh, well, you're going to narc on us anyway, so we don't want to hang with you. I don't know. Food for thought. At any rate, enough of this melancholy and more with the riding and enjoying the scenery and practically telling funny stories. Matter of fact, I actually have a really good one. So, it's one time I was down in Falmouth, alright, just north of Portland, and I was waiting at a stoplight with about, I want to say, maybe 10 vehicles in the line in front of me. And so the light turns green, and we're coming off of 95, light turns green, and the first 6 cars go, right? But the 7th car stays right where it's at, stays completely stationary. And everyone else had pulled up so close they couldn't just go around them. You know, everyone was so tight in with each other, so I figure, you know what? Well, I can't see if the guy's got his hazards on or anything. Maybe he's stuck, maybe he needs help, so I flip around to the outside of the line and I go up to this dude and I look in through his window, and he's just got his hands down in his lap, not looking up at all, just texting, you know. And I will preface this with saying, look, if you're gonna do it, I'd much prefer at the very least you're stationary like this guy. Like, there's the reason I can laugh at this story. It's not like he was gonna suddenly careen into a school bus worth of children. Like, he's just delaying us by maybe 2 minutes at most, like not even. So, like, no harm, no foul. Don't do it. Please, do not text and drive. But if you suddenly feel the urge, like, sure, do it then. But even then, just don't do it. It's not worth your time, not worth the ticket, not worth other people's lives. So, at any rate, I'm looking at this guy texting, and I just kind of knock on his window, and he looks over at me, doesn't even, he doesn't look up, he looks over at me, and he rolls down his window without looking forward. So I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I just pop up my visor, I say, excuse me, sir, is there a particular fucking shade of green you're waiting on? And he turns, he sees the light's green, he goes, ah! And just takes off, like, goes right through the light. I'm too busy laughing at this point. I am freaking dying because this dude's, like, his eyes bugged out and everything. He's actually screamed. I'm not doing it justice at all, but he screamed and he just takes off. So I'm like, oh my God, that's classic. So I'm laughing, and the cars start filing up beside me, and the first dude in line, well, now the first dude in line, stops next to me and he calls out his window. He says, hey, what'd you say to that guy to make him move that fast? And I tell him, and he starts laughing, and he just says, go ahead and take the slot, dude. That's, that's fantastic. So, yeah, so I took my place in the front of the line, as was my right. Got that bastard moving. So, yeah, that's one of my funnier stories as to close calls. My closest calls haven't even been on the bike, honestly. It's been in cars and trucks. Knock on wood, you know, eventually I'll, like, hit a tree or something, but, well, as in, like, you know, for luck, not at 60, 70 miles an hour. Yeah. I'm currently doing 50, just to give you guys an idea, but yeah, hopefully, you know, I don't have some horrific fucking crash. I've laid the bike down a couple of times, but that was like in parking lots because I go to turn, and because I have my hand hovering over the brake, it doesn't register to me that, hey, you're pulling the handlebars this way. That means that your fingers will close on the brake and you will come to a stop as you're turning, which is not a good idea. And that's how I've tipped the bike over before. I've done that 2 or 3 times now. Actually, yeah, I literally did that in the last video that I just released. But there'll be 1 or 2 more between that and this one, so hats off to the callback, of course. And this is, as I recall, the mouth of the Penobscot River coming up through here. If my local geography is anything to go by, I just know that Islesboro's out that direction. You know, somewhere there on the water. And so is, well, Verona Island is up more that way, and Bucksport is just about dead ahead in that direction. After all, that is where we're heading. This is just one of the more scenic ways to get there. It's a hell of a road to ride a bike on. They usually keep it very well maintained. This is one of the state-maintained roads, which means that it typically doesn't have nearly as many potholes, cracks, and everything. Ignore those cracks. Ignore those ones. They don't count, because they don't make your bike go into a death wobble. Oh, we should be coming into Orland soon. And oh, yeah. I'd speak of the devil and they shall appear. There's the sign. You're now entering Orland, which I know looks very much the same as both Penobscot. Castine's a little different because it's truly a coastal town as far as it was. But you know, it's amazing how much larger these towns used to be back in the day. You know, a lot of them are a little more than villages now. It's like what Penobscot is right now. We used to have like 4,500 people. Now we're down to about 1,200. That was all even before my time, though. They used to actually have things to do. It is amazing where you can find just these gorgeous views here in Maine. Now, it's just some random house in the middle of the woods, and I don't know how well you could see it because I only glanced over, but you can see for absolute miles from the side of this hill. It helps that most of that's flat out that direction, right up until you hit Acadia, but still. You know, some of these mountains, they're not all that big, but it would astound you to see how beautiful they are. We'll have to take a ride up to Mapleton, to Haystack Mountain. I know there's 2 Haystack Mountains, all right? We're talking about the small one that's only a 5-minute hike, one that's easy enough for me to make a video about, okay? It is truly a lovely spot. And again, for such a short hike, on a clear day, like if we went up there today, we wouldn't make it before nightfall today, but if we went all the way up into northern Maine and we stop over into Mapleton, you get off the bike, climb up that hill, that is just, it's one of the most underrated views in Maine, is what I'll say. Because you're sitting there looking at the start, well, some of the start of like the Appalachian Mountains coming down through the back spine of ridge of Maine. I was trying to say backside. Right, yeah, it's coming down western side of Maine. There we go. And you can see basically the head of the Appalachian Trail where it starts up there in northern Maine and then just you gotta love the feeling that these roads give you sometimes. Because look, there's beautiful waterfront views right there, yeah? And we'll be out in an open field like we were out back that way. And then suddenly you're enclosed in a leafy green, you know, trees raising up on either side of the road, beauty. And then suddenly it bursts out and you're looking out over this gorgeous expanse of water. Like there's nowhere else like it. I'm sure that there are other places, and I want to ride there too. You know. Hey, you know what? I'll tell you what. This YouTube thing actually works out. Let's say I get 100,000 subscribers, and I actually start making enough money to like consider this a profession. It's not happening, but say I manage to start making some decent money. I promise you all that I'll ride out to as many beautiful places as I can. You know, go to the northern states in the summer, spring, summer, fall months, and then in the wintertime I'm heading south. And I'll ride in through there. Alright, so there's the warning that we're going to be having slower speed limits, which means we're actually coming into town. Which, here in Orland, really, there isn't a whole lot of town to come into. It's mostly, you know, as you can see, just a bunch of houses out spread out in the woods. And, you know, I don't even remember if Orland has a town hall or not. I am dead certain that they do. See, yep, town office right down there. Oh, I just saw it. There we go. See? Yeah. Yeah. Anybody who's been up along Route 1, Orland is where the giant home place is. It's literally, you know, with all the periods in between. H-O-M-E. That's home. Yeah. And yeah, that's where they do a lot of Maine-made crafts and such things. Very pretty. Slow it down a little bit so I can do this. Awesome. Very, very pretty spots. So we'll go to a spot over in actual Bucksport. We'll make a nice little ride in and out.
Yeah, this is one of the original. No idea what that guy was saying to me, but I'm going to try and finish this before I get sucked into a conversation. At any rate, so as it says right here on John Buck's Memorial, there it is, the outline of the leg. And apparently the legend goes that they had the stone cleaned at one point and it came back. So let's see, died March, Blue Hill Granite, erected by his descendants 6 years after his death. Okay, sometimes after his placement, the outline of the leg appeared on the monument, making their appearance as well as the stories, which became legendary. So, yeah, he ordered her death by burning, and apparently that is the yeah, so apparently her son cursed him and used the leg as a catalyst, and that's the result. So, cool legend. And as it says here, all attempts to clean the stone, nothing has worked. They don't know. I'm sure they could figure out what's caused it, but cool local legend and ghost story. But at any rate, that is the story of Legend of the John Buck Memorial. And as good a place to end as any. So, well, thank you for riding with me. Remember, everyone, drink deep of victory, and remember the fallen. I'm the Gentleman Barbarian, and I will be glad to ride with you next time.